Hello people of the internet! Welcome back to me! And yes, you did read the title of this video correctly. I have finally given in to internet laziness, and do the thing that basically every single storytime animator on the face of the planet inevitably does at some point in their lives. This wonderful little thing called a sketchbook tour. Which is this thing where I basically just show you a bunch of old, really crappy drawings that I used to do many years ago, and let all of you beautiful people of the internet roast the ever-living shit out of them. And honestly, the drawings are not very good, but they're also like 5-6 years old at this point, so I'm not gonna give myself too much hell for that. But hopefully some of you guys in the comments will do that for me instead, and roast the ever-loving shit out of these drawings, just as they deserve. Anyway, let's go! So here it is, the giant pile of multiple different projects that I'm probably never going to finish in any way. And just for you to get a reference for the size of this thing, I'm gonna put in a Coke bottle so that you can see how tall it is. And you wanna know the best thing about all this? This isn't even all of it. It's like half, maybe. So yeah, let's get going. Okay, let's see what we've got going on. Let's take the one on top, just for simplicity. And let's see. Oh, I remember this one. Well, this is my VTuber idea. If I ever make a VTuber, I would love to make it of this character. Her name is Pandabot, and she has little microphones on top of her head that kind of looks like little Mickey Mouse ears. It took me a while to figure out how I wanted her to look. I wanted her to be kind of a android hybrid kind of character. She has a little, like, turn-off button around her neck, like a choker. She has little pixels and circuit boards in her dress, little fingerless gloves because she's a badass, little shoes with lightning bolts on them, and she has a little character thingy right here. I think that might be the logo? I kind of imagined her being an artificial intelligence run on basically the entire internet. She would be pretty smart, and she would be able to tell you lots of different facts about different animals, but she'd also, like, spew random memes at random times. Like, she'd be in the middle of an educational moment, and then all of a sudden she'd just start playing the John Cena music, like, da 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 da. Or she'd say something along the lines of, "That's what she said." And, yeah, that's kind of how I saw her. If I ever make a VTuber, she's gonna look like this. This is my idea for a superhero named Stella, the almighty Vega star. It's basically this idea for a college town where every single person goes out and does superhero stuff on the weekends instead of partying while going to college during the day. So in the daytime she looks like this, and when she's out and doing hero stuff she looks like this. Honestly, I didn't really have that much of an idea for what I wanted to do with her. I just wanted to be able to make a somewhat cohesive superhero costume that personally I wouldn't mind wearing in public. Because I don't know about you, but Wonder Woman is really not doing it for me. But let's see what else is in here. I basically designed all of the other characters to be kind of villains, so that they break into banks and steal money, or jewelry, or just be public nuisances. This one I call the Drama Queen. The colors aren't that great, and I might need to redesign her again later, but I like the concept. I really like the little crown with the afro puff sticking out. That's really cool. She'd be this manipulative, kind of overdramatic drama queen, as the name suggests. She'd have weapons like fans and long, bloody nails that have this red color, and this giant boa that she kind of uses like a cape, but also kind of like a weapon. I don't know. I was trying to figure out how to make a villain character, but it didn't really go that well. And oh yes, then we have the Jello Maniac. an absolutely insane pink bubblegum girl that kind of looks a little bit like strawberry shortcake. She loves frills and dresses. She's a part of the science department and is basically a marine biologist major who uses things like neurotoxins to basically incapacitate people until she's done with her crimes. She also uses things like gas and other types of poisons to just kind of be a public nuisance. Nothing that'll kill people, but just kind of being annoying and being very happy with the fact that she's very annoying. I didn't really think this one through, honestly. She's kind of all over the place, but I really do like the design of this dress. I don't know, I just like it. And then we have the last girl, who is the Flower Power Princess, who is kind of a stern, very maturely worded student during the day. Kind of a buzzkill, really, and then turns into this really powerful hippie character who uses, different chemicals to get flowers to grow at random places and times. I don't know, I just wanted to make, a supervillain / superhero costume that was kind of inspired by hippie subculture. I don't know. What do you think? I kind of like her. And then we come to these guys. This was an idea for a TV show where superheroes have families and superpowers are inherited at birth. Kind of like The Incredibles, but basically in a world where the government actually makes daycares for superhero parents so that the regular public doesn't have to take care of superhero kids. Imagine a daycare where a child has, electricity powers, and a regular human being has to figure out how to both care for her and regular, everyday, average people. I mean, she literally electrocute people if she touched them and got too excited. That's just a recipe for disaster. So in the world that I created, I basically made it the government's job to find daycare facilities for these kids so that superheroes don't have to worry about their kids while they're at work. And I wanted to make it so that the government actually uses the military as a source of daycare labor for these kids. Imagine you can join the military and be assigned daycare duty and actually get respected for it. That is basically what I wanted to create. First we have the Major, who is this very old, very stern kind of guy who usually dishes out punishments. He leads the daycare and has access to basically everything that they have to be safe. And then we have Sergeant Granny, who is a very sweet, very motherly grandma kind of character. All the kids love her, she bakes cookies, she always knows what to do and how to care for the kids. Individually, she knows all of them, all that. And the main character of the show would be Private Jenny, or, something along those lines. She'd be a complete newbie. She basically just got assigned yesterday and has to figure out how to not die while caring for the children. Because these kids have a lot of different, very strong powers. For example, we have Buster, who has fire powers. And whenever he gets very, very angry, he usually explodes, which means the daycare staff have to be able to prevent him burning the entire facility down, which means they have fire extinguishers ready at all times. Even on their person, they carry around travel-sized fire extinguishers, specifically for him. And then we have Brick, the small baby with extreme super strength. And one funny quirk that I wanted this kid to have is, he is basically indestructible. He cannot ever get hurt. He has a tendency to crawl around and try to pick up bookshelves and then drop them on himself, basically just giggling the entire time. But because, the daycare staff are decent human beings, whenever they see a baby put themselves in harm's way, they usually do everything that they can to grab him or save him, purely out of instinct, which means if he dropped a bookshelf on himself, they wouldn't let it fall on him, even if it wouldn't hurt him. They would always jump in and either try to rescue him or take the fall for him. Then we have Clay, who is a shapeshifter with terrible vision. He is one of those kids that constantly try to get away with getting extra cookies at like snack time by basically shapeshifting into other kids in the daycare to steal their cookies. However, he has extremely bad vision and has to wear his glasses at all times to be able to actually see anything. So, if they suspect that a child that they're talking to might actually be Clay and not any of the other kids, they basically just test his vision to be able to dictate whether or not it's actually them. If they hold up like a hand with 2 fingers and the kid says that there's 5 fingers instead of 2, then it's most likely Clay. And they usually always tell him to, knock it off and stop trying to steal people's cookies and just be like himself again. But he also has a tendency to kind of morph into this little blob guy whenever he's upset or like really sad. Like his entire body kind of morphs into however he feels. If he's angry, he usually turns into like a barking dog or something. It's weird. Then we have Rose, who is basically the plant superpower kid. She's able to make plants grow and appear from basically everywhere. They have on multiple occasions tried to remove different things from her hair that she'd be able to use as a weapon, but for some reason, her big afro constantly grows little flowers in it, and she always uses them for her power's sake. They try to remove them over and over and over again, but they just keep growing there. And as much as this might annoy the staff, and they have suggested cutting her hair short to prevent this, her mother is extremely against it. So they basically just have to do whatever they can to put up with it. And most of the time she isn't really a problem, but she does sometimes get into conflict with Crystal, the ice girl. She is a daughter of a very wealthy family, and she usually just kind of throws tantrums and freezes everything around her until she gets what she wants. You know, the stereotypical brat, but with Elsa's powers. So, yeah, there's that. Then we have Tricity, the little girl with electricity powers. She usually just kind of produces small electric shocks whenever she's really excited or upset. And because of this, she has like little rubber gloves and little rubber boots on, so that whenever she gets excited, she doesn't just, electrocute everyone around her. And the staff has to constantly monitor her to make sure that she does not take them off, because she hates wearing them, but it's basically for everyone else's safety, so she has to. Then we have Sage, who is, the stereotypical magical child. She is from a very respected family. She has a very long lineage of magic powers that she's basically been inheriting from birth. And given that she's the oldest in her family and the firstborn to her grandparents, she has very strong perfectionism issues and wants to be good enough and always reads books to learn more spells and just kind of has this mature older sister energy. She is also the oldest kid in daycare and is preparing for her first day of school, because as much as the government wants to protect these kids, they also have to allow them to integrate into normal society as they age. And that means that the kids has to go to normal public school, and they have to learn to control their powers before them. So she's basically preparing to leave and outgrow the daycare. Then we have May and June, who are identical twin sisters. They have cloning powers. Those powers where you basically duplicate yourself and, do all of the things. They are almost always kept separate because they constantly fight and argue with each other, to such a degree that on numerous occasions they have used their duplication powers to get into physical fist fights with each other that slowly escalated into small wars. Then we have Melody, the shy girl who can turn herself invisible. Kind of like Violet Parr, But the reason that she's called Violet is because whenever she's scared, she usually turns herself invisible to protect herself. But she also has an undying love for music. So if the staff know that she's afraid and has hidden herself, all they need to do to find her is to start singing along a little song. And Melody will either come out or start humming the tune so that they can easily find her again. And it usually calms her down enough to actually make her, reappear again. And then we have Chase, who is basically like Dash from The Incredibles, except he's a lot more brain dead, if you can kind of put it like that. If you pay attention to his shoes, he does not know how to tie his shoes. And because he has super speed and runs really fast, the staff doesn't want him to learn how to tie his shoes, because it could turn into a giant problem where they can't, catch him or help him or something. So he's prohibited from learning how to tie his shoes, so that when he starts running, he just kind of falls on his face, which is also why he's missing a little tooth. But he's usually a very energetic and upbeat, happy kid, so whenever he does fall, he doesn't really have that much of a reaction other than, oh shucks. If anything, he's kind of gotten used to falling on his face a lot, so he kind of just goes along with it. Then we have Cass, a psychic child, who is basically able to predict the future. And yes, they are very, very, very depressed. They constantly see tragedy and terrible things happening in the future. And one funny thing about Cass is this is not a power that they were born with. They were discovered in a satanic cult where this child was basically promised to be a messiah. So they were kind of isolated and alone until they were rescued. And Cass is one of the few kids in the daycare that actually lives on the facility. There's a few handful of those kinds of kids that don't have parents, but are still required super elite level care. And Cass is one of those kids. And then we have Robin, the character that can fly. And oh boy, does he love flying. He loves flying. He loves playing superhero. He loves being in the sky. And because of that, he's not allowed to step foot outside of the daycare. He's not allowed to be in the yard. He's not allowed to be outside by himself. And also because of this, he's one of the few kids that is allowed to wear a superhero cape, because it makes it easier for the staff to grab the cape whenever he starts flying around, so that they can actually, get a grip on him. But Robin doesn't really seem to care all that much because, hey, they get to wear a superhero cape and be awesome. So who cares if the staff can catch me? I still get to be awesome. Then we have another character named Finn, who is actually not a superhero child, but more of a monster type. He's basically this character from a species of underwater sea folk, and they use his parents as spies to sneak into Russia and stuff like that. Kind of like Aquaman, but if Aquaman was a fish and didn't just control fish. He wears a little bubble helmet full of water with a little machine on his back to constantly keep the water from deoxidizing so he can breathe. He's this very gentle, very sweet boy that honestly doesn't need a lot in order to keep himself busy. He loves drawing and doing girly stuff, and sometimes the other boys make fun of him, but he really couldn't care less because he is not gonna play sports with them. Because if he does, and the ball hits his helmet, he's gonna drown, so he finds other ways to entertain himself. And then we have Kitty, another child that actually lives full-time at the daycare. She is a mutant experiment that was rescued from a mad scientist who loved splicing human DNA with animal DNA. So she is basically trapped in this daycare, and she's still getting used to human society. Okay, that's it. Let's move on to the next project that I don't have an entire folder for. This was an idea for a short film that I had about a fairy traveling to the shore and meeting a mermaid at sunset. And the two of them basically spending the night together looking at the stars. because the mermaid always had a dream about seeing a real-life star. All she'd ever known was starfish, and she wanted to know if real stars looked the same. And you know, the two of them bond and get along and giggle and I didn't really get that far with it. It was just kind of there. So this was an idea for a children's book that I had about a mouse being kicked out of his mom's house and trying to figure out where to live afterwards, and constantly failing at it. This was a page in the book where he tries to move into a spider web, only to recognize that a spider already lives there and doesn't want anything to do with him. Then he moved into an underground cave that a few rabbits had already moved into, so he realized that he probably shouldn't live there either. Then he moved into a little duck pond where a frog looked at him very weird, because mice usually don't live in frog ponds. And he didn't like being wet all the time, so he left. Then he tried moving into a birdhouse, only to realize that it was way too small and he couldn't fit. So he left. Then he tried moving into a bird's nest, only to realize that there were still eggs in it. So when they hatched, he was forced to leave again. And here is the cat bed that he slowly took over, not realizing that a mouse and a cat living in the same place would probably be a very bad idea. So he left when the cat got mad at him. And here was an illustration of the place where he would end up living. A hollowed out little tree trunk that basically slowly over time became his home. End of story. Again, it's not a very good storybook by any means, but I don't know. I wanted something that was simple that I knew I could finish. This was an idea for a project where I basically explored a mermaid's life. If mermaids were a horrifically nightmarish creature, instead of this beautiful princess stereotype that you see everywhere. Look at that face. This is the mermaid that I was picturing in my head, and there are so many examples of these kinds of things everywhere in this project. Just look at those beautiful teeth. Here is an idea for the cover of whatever the hell I was doing. I'm not really sure. I think I was trying to make it into a comic at some point. I don't know, I like these silhouettes. What do you think? Does she look creepy? She looks real creepy to me. Or is this one more of the creep? I don't know, I liked it. And here was my attempt at making, I think, a storyboard for a potential idea for either an animated video or a comic of some kind. I don't know. Starts out with us looking up at the sky through the water, only to see the ocean floor and a large crack, the Mariana Trench, opening up behind it. And we move further and further into the darkness. And we see all of the horrifying little creatures that live oh so deep in the darkness. And slowly, the mermaid comes into frame. The mermaid looks around, looking for food, only to realize that there is none. Then, a ray of sunshine hits her for the first time, blinding her in an instant. And she looks up, and she sees something looking like a fish slowly being introduced in the light. And she decides to follow it, hoping that maybe whatever it is, it could be edible. And we get her passing through more different creatures that truly illustrate how horrifying the ocean actually is. And a different attempt at me drawing the horrifying abyss of the ocean and the opening of the Mariana Trench. And here we have another beautiful face. And basically Ursula, because that's basically what it is. It's just Ursula. And more fish stuff. And a little embryo egg that looks like a mermaid egg. Because yeah, in this world, mermaids lay eggs. And more ideas for Fish World. I had this idea for a short while for a mermaid that had the tail of a seahorse. I don't know, I thought that was cool. And a mermaid with a narwhal horn. And also, fun fact, did you know that narwhal horns are actually not horns? Technically, they're not horns, they're teeth, which is why he's brushing it with a toothbrush. I don't know, I just thought it was cool. Oh, I remember this one. This is like one of the oldest things that I have. I made this when I was like 16, and it was a comic called The Disturbed Mermaid, about a mermaid who fell in love with a corpse. Let me explain. We have her scattering around the ocean floor looking for stuff, the same way Ariel does. Only for her to notice an abandoned shipwreck. at the bottom of the ocean. So she decides to investigate, and everything is very dark and very abandoned. She comes across a book, but doesn't really know what it is because she doesn't know how to read, because she's not a human. So she puts it back down, looks around a little bit more, and instant shock. She sees the dead captain of the ship and what remains of who he used to be. And she's confused. She looks into his dead, soulless eyes that used to be there that are now sockets, looks at him for a moment, and instantly falls in love, found the love of her life, a dead skeleton man. And here's a little montage of all of the beautiful things that they ended up doing together before she realized that he's never gonna reciprocate and that the relationship was doomed from the start. They cuddle, she pokes him on the nose, wears his hat, holds his skeleton hand, and dances the night away with him. Isn't it just beautiful? Here was my idea for, I don't really know how to call it. Imagine a world where mermaids sometimes get trapped in places they're not supposed to be, and sometimes evolve into very strange, horrifying creatures. I'd seen an animal documentary and saw this one fish with crab-like legs at the side of its head. So I thought it was a really cool thing, so I added it to her. And she's being discovered by this woman. And she's not able to tell whether or not the mermaid is real or if it's just her reflection. Because she can only see her face, and not the giant, horrifying body underneath it. Here we have more ideas for comics and other scenarios I wanted to put these mermaids in. This was still very early in the process before I started to make them very horrifying, so I gave her a little sea companion, a little seal pupper, and me trying to be funny. This is why I have short hair. Don't comment. I don't know if you can classify that as funny, but that was my attempt at being, like, hilarious, apparently. I'm not smart, okay? And then we have this image. Just look at that expression. Isn't it just beautiful? How long that tongue is. How bony those fingers and shoulders are. She is hungry. She wants to eat now. And here we have a mermaid trying to grab a fishing hook because it's shiny and she wants to touch it. Oh yeah, I remember this one. This was an illustration of a mermaid finding a statue of a human woman and falling in love with it. The funny part of it being that the mermaid doesn't really understand that the statue is depicting a woman. Because she's wearing a very long, beautiful dress. And in the mermaid's head, this is a tail. That's why she says such beauty, because this is the most beautiful tail she has ever seen. And she's in love with the tail. I don't know, I think it's funny. Then there was this short period where I considered making a frog-human hybrid to go along with the mermaids, but I'm not really sure how that would work in practice. Just look at that beautiful little face. She has a mouth big enough to eat full-grown birds. Ugh, she's beautiful. And then we came over these little things. Here we have a mermaid baby wearing a squid as a hat, a mermaid baby eating its dead mother, and a bunch of mermaid eggs. I think I drew this because at some point I learned that there is certain species of animals that eat their mothers, or like something in that ballpark, I don't know. And then we came to a more finished idea of what I wanted the mermaid creatures to look like. I wanted them to be thin and scaly with little feet things on their hips, long flowy hair, kind of an emaciated body and long fangs, and claws on her little hands with webbed feet. I don't know, what do you guys think? I think she's alright. This is a drawing of our mermaid mom dying and protecting her eggs until they hatch. This is something that I learned that some octopus species do. They actively lay a crap ton of eggs, and the mothers then uses the remaining of her lifespan to protect the eggs so that predators don't eat them. meaning she dies from not eating, starving to death. I don't know, I thought it was really beautiful. I made a drawing of it. What do you think? This was more ideas for how these mermaids would work. This is a mermaid with spots all over her body to kind of resemble the blue-ringed octopus? I don't know. I guess I wanted her to appear toxic, or like she could shapeshift or something. I'm not sure. Then we have the electric eel mermaid that is able to shoot electricity through water to stun prey and eat them. I don't know, I thought the idea of a mermaid having electric eel powers was pretty cool, so I made her. Then we have this weirdness. Don't worry, buddy, you're safe here. A mermaid dad keeping his babies safe in his mouth. This is something I learned that a very specific species of fish, named the arowana fish, does. They protect their babies inside of their mouth, and that's something dads do. Fish dads, very specifically, protect their babies in their mouth. And for some reason I couldn't stop thinking about it for a very, very long time, so that's where that came from. And then we have a mermaid with little crab legs on her neck that she uses to taste things. Something that I also learned a specific species of fish does. I don't remember the name, but it had little feet on the side of its face to look for food, and she has that. Then we have the anglerfish mating. Oh, this is my husband, Frank. We're trying to conceive children, or we are expecting children. I don't know, you guys know about anglerfish, right? And how they reproduce, and how the men basically just suck onto the female and merge into her skin. I don't know, am I the only one who thinks that's really bizarre? That's basically it for now. Let me know what you guys thought of this sketchbook tour in the comments. And let me know if you want it to come back, because oh boy, do I have more than plenty to show. Thanks for listening. Bye.